What?
Oh, so
The broadcast is live. StreamYard.
So, hi everyone, I'm Hayley, and I've got Pete Brown with me today to discuss growing on LinkedIn.
Hi there.
So what we're going to do, Pete and I have a few pointers for you, but if you have any questions, could you put them in the box and we'll answer them as we go. So Pete.
So I'm so excited. Oh, this is my first time. You've done one of these, haven't you, Hayley? But this is my first time.
Yeah, I did one with Kate last week.
Fantastic. And we'll record this, won't we? So people will be able to watch it afterwards. And the first thing to say is, everybody, if you want to connect with people on this chat, put in the comments open to connect, and everybody connect with everybody. That's a great thing about this place, LinkedIn. You know, it's an open community. Let's link in and let's connect with everybody and, you know, grow our following, which is what we're here for. So hopefully that's kind of one of the first things you want to do.
Yeah, well, that's a topic.
Yeah.
LinkedIn. So we've prepared some questions, etc. Or pointers. Would you like to kick it off?
Okay, so let's go right back to the beginning. You know, I believe that the essence of LinkedIn is to really get stuck in and engage and comment and like on people's posts. Really, you know, so what I would advise anybody starting out, or anybody at all, is to start reading people's posts and read them in detail and read the comments and like people's comments and comment on people's comments, and do it liberally. There are no restrictions on the amount of love you can give, right? And I say love, and I mean it, because, you know, the more you get into the digging in LinkedIn, the more you'll find that the community will support you and love you and help you, and, you know, it's brilliant. Don't you think, Hayley?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how we've met.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is, though, it's the beginning bit is really scary. You do think, or you know, am I going to be too controversial, or not really sure what to post? But then you post something, nothing happens. No one comments, no one likes.
10 posts. I reckon I did, you know, I suddenly, like you, I was terrified to do any posts and to do stuff. And I put a couple up, and you're like, you know, oh my God, they're going to ridicule me. They're going to hate me. They're going to, you know, I'm going to be so controversial. And the worst criticism you can get, which is exactly what happened to me, is nothing. Nobody comments, nobody likes, you know, like 10 posts, 10 posts. It's like nothing. And you just think, oh, well, you know, I've got nothing to say. And we all feel like that, but we all have something to say. And, you know, you've just got to persevere a little bit. And it's a consistency, isn't it? Keep going.
But and it's, I mean, there's lots of things to post about. And I think people get really kind of daunted about what to post about. Where did you...
So you know what? There's all these people who say there's this scientific way of posting, right? And I do think, you know, there's some credibility in that, right? It's great if you've got a plan, but what I'd say it's an intersection between what you're good at, what you're skilled at. So, for instance, if you're a recruiter, you're you know, in that business, so that's something you're very passionate about, Hayley. And it's like, if you're a teacher, you're skilled at teaching. If, you know, I was into leadership and management, and I loved that. So, and I was skilled at that. And then there's an intersection between that and what are you passionate about? Yeah. So I'm passionate about motivation and, you know, getting people really riled up to do things. And, you know, I'm really into that. So the intersection between those two things is where, you know, the sweet spot for me was. But you know what? If I get up in the morning on a Sunday and say, I'm going to say, what's my favorite music track today? That's what I'm going to do. But that's more a weekend thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think LinkedIn and social media in general, we're just trying to get to know someone. And that's what it's all about. And I think, I know, you know, I'm dealing with people from a recruitment aspect and job seeking and all of this. And people want to find their cheerleaders, so to speak. And that's what it's mainly about. You know, a job is great. Obviously, we all need a job to pay the bills, etc. But what if that job has all the amazing people around you that you want to be surrounded by every day? You're not dreading going to work. And by getting yourself out there on LinkedIn and finding your cheerleaders and people that are similar to you, you'll find that workplace.
Absolutely, and well said. And I think we were talking a little earlier about reciprocation, and basically, if we were in a party, let's say me and you had never met, Hayley, and we walked into a party together, and there were groups of people. If I wandered up to a group of people and said, "Hi, I'm Pete," and then just shut up, yeah, and people stood there going, "Well, he's just said hello, and that's it." Is he going to say anything else? And it's the same on LinkedIn. You go into groups, you've got to comment and like and respond. And then all of a sudden people comment and like and respond to you. And
it's so true. Going up to a group and just being silent.
Yeah, it's like, "Hi, everyone. I'm just going to stand here. I'm not going to say anything." Oh, weirdo.
Yeah. So I call them the voyeurs of LinkedIn. They just sit there and don't really kind of do anything.
Yeah.
No one kind of wants that. You need to get to know these people.
Yeah, I get quite a lot of direct messages with people who I know saying, "I am watching you. I just thought I'd better tell you. I didn't want to feel you think I was a stalker." It was like, well, just comment on my post then. Because that's the other thing. I think when you get, I'm lucky enough, you're lucky enough, we get quite a few comments and likes and stuff on our post now. But I promise you, every comment means a lot. I read all of my comments. I wrote one really heartfelt post, right? And literally I got about 1,000 comments, right? And literally I was stood in my kitchen and I was crying. The stuff that people were writing, it just touched my, and I went, and that's another thing, right? I go back to every comment, every single comment and say thank you or comment on their comment. To me, it's just, my mum, as my mum always says, courtesy, saying thank you and being polite is something, and there's no difference on LinkedIn. If you're polite, then it goes a long way.
I'm just reading some of the comments here, and we've got a lot of people kind of talking about what jobs they're looking for. I should probably let you know the topic of conversation is how to grow on LinkedIn, because, there's a lot of people looking for jobs out there. And I think what we're trying to do is take you back to the basics of how to find those jobs. I know that I'm a recruiter, etc., but we need to kind of, from my perspective, out of the job seekers that we get, there's only a very, very small proportion of people that ever get chosen. So what I'm trying to do is do these talks with Pete and everyone else so that we can educate everyone.
I think it's important to say, Hayley, so my journey was that I left a job in September. And I was struggling to get traction in terms of finding a new job. And so I just went, heavily into LinkedIn and posting videos and commenting and really going for it. And it gave me a lot of attention on LinkedIn and actually got a job on the back of it, which, I've actually subsequently left, but that's a different story. But, I did get a job and I had two opportunities that came completely from this engagement and building a brand on LinkedIn.
Do you think there's anything that you could have done better with regards to, because I know that you had these two companies, but
yeah,
there's anything else that you could have done?
I think one of the things you can do on LinkedIn really effectively is target who you want to engage with. So the search facility on LinkedIn is superb, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you can hone down, let's say that there's a certain company that you'd like to work with or for. What you can do is you can hone down onto the company or types of company and then find the positions you want. And then you don't necessarily go and contact them and connect with them straight away. What you probably do is you follow the people and try and like and engage with their content. And then after a few weeks of doing that, they'll see you quite clearly as somebody they know and like and trust, and then you connect.
I think it's also a good point to bring up that when you're looking at these companies, etc., and people, you might think that you want to work with them or for them, but they might not be your cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's really important to kind of think about. Like, do you actually want to work with them? Do you have similar values, etc.?
Absolutely. And you know, it's important that, you know, what LinkedIn has taught me a lot is about, you know, being true to your heart and the journey that you go on. And, you know, I lost my job during COVID, and I know a lot of people as well will be in the same position. And although it's a terrible thing to happen, it's also a great thing in a way if you try and flip that to say, okay, is now the time for me to choose to do something that I love rather than that I don't love. And that's where I'm at now. And LinkedIn's taught me that.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Thanks. So have we got any questions then?
I can't see any at the moment.
So people, if you would like to ask us a question about your particular situation, could you put a Q in front of your comment and ask those questions? And we'll come to those. So another tip from me then. So while we're on the subject of growth and connections, I think that I've had quite a massive growth in following and connection in a 3-month period, right? And so, you know, there's no such thing as a quick fix, but that's a fairly quick move. So it is possible on LinkedIn to do that. If you do the sort of things that we're saying, it can happen quite quickly. But one of the things you must do is be consistent. So showing up is 90% of the job. Yeah, it just like most things, you know, if you show up every day and you do things in a consistent manner, then things happen for you. If you turn up sporadically and then don't turn up, then, you know, the job's going to be a difficult one.
Yeah, it's just going to be elongated. I think it's consistency is key, and volume.
Yeah.
So you've just got to get yourself out there. I think I was also kind of looking at posts. When I go through a recruitment drive or go through suitable candidates for a client, I always have a look at someone's comments. So I'll go onto their profile. Usually the profile isn't filled out, so I need to get to know this person.
Yeah.
I'll go on to their comments and posts, and usually there's no posts, but then there's a lot of comments or they've done something.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good point to be conscious to moderate what you post.
Yes. You straddle a very important line there, don't you? So you know, if you post things that are completely beige, you know, like boring, then you're not going to get much interaction. But if you, at the same time, you mustn't be rude or obnoxious, you know, because there's a question there from Barbara, I notice.
Yeah, should I put it up?
Yeah.
I'm starting an online.
Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Any advice to grow connections?
Yeah, well, I reckon, Barbara, you know, it depends what your business is, but, you know, you basically got to identify what your end user, i.e. your potential customer, is going to want to see. And what I do, it depends how boring that is, you know. So if it's too businessy, it can be boring, can't it? So, you know, you've got to mix it up a bit. So, you know, the rule is sometimes it's like, okay, interesting work. Yeah, so you can do a few interesting posts that are about perhaps your passion, and then spice it up and then go a bit more businessy. And that way you retain people, you know, interacting with you. Because if you just do business, people just go, you know what, this is a bit boring. You know, there's a little bit of that. But, you know, I think going back to that, you know, targeting people. Sorry, Haley, go on.
I do that. I do business.
No, in fairness, I've seen a couple of recently. You did a couple of topical things, didn't you, that were from the heart?
Oh yeah, true. I take that back.
And that's important. I think, Barbara, the main thing I would say is, you know, I personally think, you know, it's all very well saying that it's all about business. I think just try and grow your connections, because a bigger awareness of you will help all round. Yeah. You can just, you know, there's a lot of people who say, oh no, you've got to restrict your connections just to the people who you're interested in. Well, I'm just not a believer in that. If that's what you want to do, fine. But that restricts you. You know, there's a lot of people on LinkedIn. You never know. The next connection might be somebody who could really help you. And right now they can't. They might get a different job. They might move into something else. And all of a sudden that person could influence your life. So consistently connect, you know, try and find people to connect with, do a post. And if people like it, go onto the likes and say to those people, thanks for liking my post. Will you connect?
Yeah.
And I do that every day. I get, you know, 300 likes. I go onto all of the likes that aren't first connections and say, thanks for liking my post. Please connect. Simple.
There is, probably should bring up a point. There's a difference between followers and connections as well. And you only get a limited amount of connections. There's only 30,000 only. There's probably a lot of people thinking that is a lot.
A lot of connections.
But yeah, it's certainly for recruitment, that's probably not that many. But yeah, so there's a difference between followers and connections. Connections you can freely message, and followers will just follow you. And if you don't have an open to connect, then they will have to buy an email. Quite harsh.
Yeah. There's another great question there from Omami.
Oh, hang on. Oh, bring it up.
Nice one. Go on, Hayley. I'll let you start with that one.
Which is more important for recruiters, commenting or posting topics? So for me personally, I want to get to know the individual. I think commenting is great, but we don't get to learn about you. You are, I mean, what I see in the main is people sharing people's content, which is great because it shows that that's your view and you agree with it, but what is your actual view? So I think you really need to think about the content that you want to put out there. And it could be absolutely anything, the projects you're working on, the team you're working with, how you feel, like people say. You don't keep it all to do with work, but create your own content so that we get to learn about you. And also as an individual, you'll become more confident online. And that's what employers want to see, really. The most attractive quality for an employer is somebody who knows their added value and what they can bring to an organization. But by posting on LinkedIn, etc., you're already showing you're confident and you know your stuff. So let's just see more of it.
Couldn't agree more. So for me, it's like liking is the lowest, but a good thing to do. Commenting is a bit better, and posting is even better. But you know, if you're going for a certain type of job and you do a post, try and make it, you know, try and make at least some of your posts pertinent to the person who's going to be reading it, going, oh, they've got a really interesting point of view. I'd like them to work for me, you know. Yeah. So it's important that you're doing some competent stuff, you know, and that your opinions are valid. And that the potential recruiter is going to go, you know what, that's an interesting perspective. They don't have to agree with you. That's one of the beauties on LinkedIn. You don't have to agree with people. You just have to respect that they've got a strong opinion on something. And you go, okay, fair enough. You know, we can't all believe the same stuff, but at least they've got an opinion. For me, having no opinion is just, I don't like that. You know, if you've got no opinion, it's not working for me. I'd rather you have a strong opinion that I didn't agree with. At least then I'm going to give you respect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Are you talking about the people who just go like, amazing job, or it's just really bland, beige comment?
Beige, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the ones I love, you know, I get like if I do a post, right? And it's quite a post that makes people think. And then you get loads of people doing really long comments, and I read them carefully and just go, oh my goodness, some of the stuff is quality. And what I sometimes do is go through them all and then go back to the comments at the top and say, you know, such and such and such and such have got such great views and really great posting. Thank you, everybody. And you've just gone all the way through and tied it all together with a bow. I love doing that. So
I like people trying to, if somebody doesn't agree with me, I want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as they're not rude. That's
No.
trolling, isn't it?
Yeah, trolling. I don't like trolls.
No, don't do that. That's not nice.
But yeah, I think there are some people that are quite negative, and I'm not a fan personally, because I don't think it puts anyone in a good light, put it that way.
I agree.
And at the end of the day, it is a business network. So it's not Facebook. Put that on Facebook, if you're going to moan.
Yeah. And one of the things that I would suggest to people is try and give, what we're trying to do here is you're giving of your opinion, you're giving of your time. Yeah. It's not all about taking. What I think I've learned listening to podcasts and being on LinkedIn is actually, the people who are doing things specifically to gain, to sell, to forward their own requirements, they're the people who won't get there. The people who do it for the love of it and to try and help others, actually, in the long term, I think those people will come through.
I agree. And I think these times have kind of changed everything. Marketing's changed. If you talk to anyone in marketing, they're just like, it's completely changed over the past year. So I think everyone needs to try and adapt and just be a bit more authentic online.
Yeah, and everyone has, when you're posting, one of the things I've noticed that some people, they post as if they're writing a script. You've got to make it a bit punchy. So like a newspaper article, make it a bit sassy, a bit controversial, but your point of view is still got to be within certain realms of reasonableness. But if whether you use, I'm 53 years old. I'm not prone to using emojis, but I use emojis all over my LinkedIn because I just think it looks, when people see it, they go, it catches the eye.
Yeah.
And a brilliant tip, right? When you do a text-based post, as soon as you see a text-based post, you can see 5 lines. So basically, if you do 1 line, then a space, 1 line, then a space, 1 line, those are the lines you can see. So you almost do a little story in 3 lines, which leaves a cliffhanger. So they press the show me more button. So it's like, I always leave a, question to show you more. And then you get the interaction on the show you more.
It is a bit annoying. You have to tell people show more and click on that. I think there's quite a lot that just like don't read. Well, yeah, they just don't read.
And the same thing, when you do a poster. So I can only advise everybody to, if they want to do posters, use Canva. Is a program. It's superb. It's very simple, and I'm not very technical, but you do a little poster with a quote on it or something, and then you only get 3 lines showing when the post comes up. So it's like 1 line, a space, and then 1 line. So you've got to try and again use a cliffhanger statement. So instead of saying how do you feel, how do you feel about this, you say my view is this strongly. So it just catches the eye and captures the imagination a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of people posting at the moment, or have been in the past year, and you need to stand out in some way, shape, or form. You're right. Yeah,
but then again, you look at some people's posts who get great interaction because they're, it's very heartfelt, and they've been doing it consistently for quite a long time, and they've got a following, as you said, Hayley. These people have got people who like to read what they do.
It's your cheerleaders.
Yeah, and it's lovely.
Yeah. So we've got loads of questions that have come in. How to let people engage properly with topics you post. I'm not sure I understand that one.
Well, one of the things, how to let people engage properly with topics you post. Well, when you post a topic, people come back and they give you their opinion. What I like to do then is question their opinion. So you're getting into an interaction, not just a great. You go back. If somebody says something that is controversial or questioning, I go back and say, well, okay, how about this perspective? What do you think of that? And then you're getting a conversation rather than it just being a one hit and it's done.
Or put a question in your original post.
Yes. I mean, that's they call it the call to action, don't they, Hayley?
Yes.
So, you know, when you're posting, you've got to have a, you know, what is it you want? Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to answer you? Do you want them to go to your website? What is it that you want? You've got to decide that before you do a post, because the most annoying posts are just where, like, it's just a whole massive page worth of text, and it doesn't actually ask you to do anything. And you sort of get to the end and go, well, I don't know what they expected. Okay, I've read it.
Yeah, I've never really thought of it like that.
Yeah, so, you know, when you get to the end and you say, you know, what are your thoughts of this, or do you agree, or follow me, or I don't know, anything, that's the call to action. And you've got to be careful not to have multiple call to actions, because then people get confused.
Yeah, send a clear message, put a question in there, and
yeah,
a few people. I think a few people are asking similar questions actually. Hang on, let me pull this one down.
How can one access? This is from Philip. How can one access post views to encourage likes?
I think we just covered that. You have to engage your audience, and so put in questions and stuff that relates to you. Make it personal. You can do all sorts of things. You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mamie. Yeah, one of the tips I would say is, when you're writing a post, don't put massive chunks of text. You know, split it up with some white space, because when the reader looks at it, you know, I'm terrible, right? I flutter by. People scroll past stuff, right? So they may see more, and they've got a whole chunk of text, and it's just click off. Yeah. So if it's nicely spaced and easy to read with some emojis, just my thing, I like emojis, you know, they read it, you know, and if it's not too long, they go, okay, this is worth my investment. Yeah. And you're more likely to get a positive outcome if you do that, I would say.
Yeah. You're more like a magpie. But I do agree with you. It's like anything, though, CVs, etc. If you've all your LinkedIn, if you've got a large chunk of text, it is really hard work to read through it. It's a bit of a commitment these days to read through a large chunk of text.
I think the great thing is, you know, if you're lucky enough on LinkedIn to be a huge, you know, somebody with huge following, you're lucky enough then to start with, you've got to be engaging. You've got to get people to want to look at your stuff. And so you've got to use the tips and tricks to get people engaged. And then you'll get higher engagement. And as you go along, you can throw in a really serious post with lots of text, and it'll still get the engagement. But, you know, if you do that all the time, people will quickly just go, you know what, I haven't got enough time for this. And even at that time, that time might be 2 minutes. But, you know, even with my videos, I do a lot of videos, and my videos, the most successful ones, you know, they can't be more than 1 minute, 20 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Analyzed it that far.
Yeah. And you know, if I've done, you know, a good video will get sort of 3,000 views, and, you know, a bad video will get, you know, 500 views, and the time will be quite a big pointer on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. So here's a recruiter one. Why do some recruiters not follow with persons looking for jobs? Oh.
Is that, I think that's, to me, is that a bit about ghosting? You know, I've experienced quite a bit of that when, you know, I applied for probably 50 plus jobs, and it was very frustrating to me that, you know, I got ghosted. I'm basically not getting feedback. But I know, Hayley, you really good on that, aren't you, at AE Recruitment?
Yeah, I've actually built a business on getting back to everyone, because I understand the frustrations. However, on the flip side, when you do get back to everyone, it is hard work getting back. And as a recruiter, you can't always get the feedback. So it's hard enough giving negative feedback. But when you can't even get it to pass it on,
Yeah.
is normally the case. But yeah, I mean, as a business, we always get back to everyone just to say, no, really sorry, you're not successful on this occasion. But I think as a general rule, it seems to be that it's admin intensive, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for your question, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you, Ahmed.
So in terms of your journey, Hayley, do you think LinkedIn has changed for you over the time? Because you've got a massive following, haven't you? What do you think? Do you think it's changed?
It's changed. I mean, an incredible amount in the time that I've been using it. I know at the beginning, I didn't really post a lot. It was a bit weird. I was a voyeur, I have to say. Yeah. Sat there kind of only using it for recruitment purposes and reaching out to people that I think are suitable. But yeah, I think I was saying to you earlier, Pete, I started doing all these articles. I posted one article and I thought, because I can be quite controversial at times. I thought, yeah, just pop that there, see what happens. And it was quite quiet, but yeah, it's a funny one. People are just trying to get to learn who you are, I think. So
yeah. And we all have that fear, like honestly, everybody listening, honestly, I can't tell you how terrified I was when I put my first video up, and it was a book about Viktor Frankl, a book review, and the engagement was terrible, but it's just having the gumption to just do it. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. But no. When you've done it and you think you sit there afterwards and you think, well, nothing actually happened to me. I am allowed to do it. You do have the right to post stuff, yeah. and everybody's got that right, which is great. That's, the only thing that dictates whether it's good or bad is the market, and the market is the people who are looking at LinkedIn, and they decide whether it's good or bad. And that's great, because it's a meritocracy.
But yeah, I should probably say both Pete and myself were bricking it about doing these lives.
Yeah,
seriously. And we're two individuals that get out there every day posting and commenting and doing all of this. So everyone's in the same boat. You just have to make that first step. And I can't tell you how many people that I've coached via AE Academy that have said, Hayley, I don't think I can do it. And once we've sat down and put a plan together of what they want to post about, they've actually come back and said, I can't believe it. I've started posting. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's the only way to kind of, it's like, spread your wings.
Totally. Well said. And I think, when you in the early stages, what I would do every day is I would post and I would get very little engagement, but there were some people who would pretty much engage every day and comment. So you know what? I'd see those people and I'd go to their site, their LinkedIn profile, and I'd look at their posts and I'd go and comment and like their posts.
Yeah.
And it's like that reciprocal arrangement where, it's just polite. Someone's had the courtesy to look at my post and been very positive about it. I want to go and see what they're doing. And, you don't have to do that much to create. And that's what happened with us, wasn't it, Hayley?
Yeah.
You very kindly commented on my stuff. I commented on your stuff. And all of a sudden we got a friendship.
Yeah.
And, it's, and that's lovely.
I think you tagged me trying to help a job seeker, and it was in a completely different industry. But it's like there was something there that drew us together, and from there, you've been able to find jobs. I've been able to do my thing, and we're now doing lives.
Yeah, and one of the things I've done, and know you've done it as well, Hayley, is the people that we have these relationships. And we're not doing face-to-face visits with people so much. So I've gone out of my way, and I know you have as well, Hayley, to get on a Zoom call with some of these people and just find the person behind the posts, and it's fascinating to do.
you don't always get stuff from it, but at least you're learning about LinkedIn and getting yourself out there. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you are, and those cheerleaders will start gravitating towards you. And like what happened with you, although you're that way, opportunities will start to come your way. I know if you looked at my inbox, I've got all sorts of things, really random.
Yeah. Omami's done another question, which is quite a good one.
Ooh.
Is it useful for your profile to post topics which are not within your specialization or area of expertise? Well,
what do you think?
I would say yes, because I think it's, to me, that the essence of growth on LinkedIn is a general thing to start with. I think that you've got to try and get some scale. So, my approach has been to just try and engage and grow and get following and get connections with anybody. And that's just my opinion, but it's working for me. And as I get bigger and have a bigger following, I will, as I decide what I'm going to do with my life, I will probably specialize a bit more, but at the moment, all I'm really trying to do is engage and, help people wherever I can.
I think from my perspective, it depends on your end goal. If you're not really sure, then do what Pete does. But if you're looking for a job, I would really hone it in on what you want out of it and the network that you're trying to attract. Like if you've got experience in high-rise buildings, for example, but you're engaging with people that are doing residential renovations, etc., probably you need to change your posts slightly so that they're directed to you. But I would mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Variety is the spice of life.
It is indeed. It's really difficult to kind of read these and talk at the same time. It's really distracting.
So in terms of topics, Hayley, I know obviously you deal with a lot of recruitment stuff, but sometimes you just post a bit about how you feel as well, don't you?
Yeah, I've done it this week, and it was snowing earlier on in the year. We never get snow in London.
Yeah, I know you did a nice picture.
It's just more of the human element and people getting to know who you are. And I think for me with LinkedIn, a profile can say a lot about an individual. So a lot of profiles are very blank, and I'm going to use the word again, beige. There's not a lot to them, and it doesn't really inspire you to contact that person. So by updating your LinkedIn and posting all the time, people get to know who you are and want to engage more. I like to think of it as a shop window. If people are looking at your profile but not asking anything about you, so aren't messaging, then there's a problem with what you're posting or what the content of your LinkedIn profile itself. So update it, make it look more inviting so that people want to engage with you.
Yeah. And so I'm not a particularly sort of overly emotional person, but the thing that LinkedIn love is to understand the highs and lows of your life and what's going on with you. And what I've learned with LinkedIn is it's a very cathartic thing to share, both the highs and lows with the people who I engage with on LinkedIn, and be a bit more open and honest about, how I'm feeling. So, in years gone by, I would never say, I've felt a bit low today or whatever, but, I'll happily share that because, we all have low days. And if I think I posted last week or so, I was like, today's been a 2% day. It's been I've really struggled. And, everybody can appreciate that, because I don't think anybody would be so ballsy as to say, I never have a bad day. People want to hear that people are human.
Yeah.
And we all are, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, I don't post anything about my life, really. I think there's only been a few little things. I think you've been quite ballsy where that's concerned. But it definitely, people want to see that. I can definitely see with your network, it's just shot up since you've been talking about your day-to-day kind of life and your job search, what you're going through, the emotions.
Yeah, and it's very cathartic. Like, so that one of my posts that I explained, you know, the ups and downs of losing my job and etc. That day, I got 620 followers on that day.
Oh,
yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? And you know, the engagement on that post was phenomenal. I think it was 250,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, but then you know, it's the emotional side of giving of yourself, which is not easy. But,
no.
you know, we can all learn a bit for, you know, and I've studied the other people who've got great posts and how they've done it. And, you know, not to be too formulaic, but there is a way to do it if you, you know, if you want to be a bit scientific about it.
That's right. We've been covering those points, haven't we? It's the update your LinkedIn profile, look at your previous posts, moderate them, but also get yourself out there. Post original content and comment, like, engage with other people, and they will engage back.
Yeah, you can't. And what I've seen some people do is they think they've done the job, they've posted, and they're getting comments on their posts, and they just leave it. Okay. You've got to go back. When people have the courtesy to do a comment on your post, you've got to go back and either question it, you know, or you know, if you can follow up and question them on what they're commenting, you're creating engagement. And the more engagement that you create, the better it's going to be.
Exactly. I don't think we've got any more questions on the right here. Oh, we do. Thanks for we do.
Hi, Philip.
I think we've had one from Philip, have we? Well, I usually track 500 post views and 20 to 30 likes on average. My all-time high was 25,000 views, but only 300 likes. Ironic, I thought. I'll try your suggestions. Yeah, I think you just need to keep posting regularly, and you'll see there's a steady kind of likes and comments, etc. I know that Pete and I have spoken about this before. Some days you can post something and no one will like, no one will comment. And you do think, have I done something? But you just need to keep going. It may be a time of day, maybe it's a weekend, holiday, whatever it may be. It's not you.
Some very good points there, Hayley. And I think it's known that Wednesday is probably the best day for engagement. Yeah, and in terms of what I would say to you, Philip, is in terms of views are for vanity, really. And in terms of what depends what you're trying to do. You know, they call it dopamine. If you're doing it because you want to feel good and you want a lot of engagement, that's great. And I love that, right? So being totally candid, it's great to have a load of engagement. So, but views are okay. But views, you know, if somebody going past at 500 miles an hour, that will count as a view. So it's not really a great example of engagement when they like or comment, and a comment's like, you know, quite a big investment comparatively. You know?
The creme de la creme, really.
Yeah. So that's where, you know, the people who are commenting regularly on your posts, they're the people that you truly are engaging with. And likes are still good, but, you know, it's still a bit cold, isn't it, compared to somebody actually making a comment and saying, you know, and views, it could literally be someone just scrolling past, which is apt to happen on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think you just need to kind of get yourself out there, target the companies or the individuals that you're looking for, and look at what they're posting. Engage with them and get yourself out there, and just feel more confident being on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it will start coming the other way.
It will. And of those, you know, I would be those 300 likes, Philip, I would be going through all those likes, and anybody who wasn't connected with me, I'd send them a note just saying, hi, thanks for liking my post. Let's connect. And, you know, and your following grows like that. You really, you want followers, you know, followers and connections, as Hayley said, are not the same thing. But, you know, and unless you are sort of nearing the 30,000 connections, it's not really an issue for you. So I would be trying to connect with people quite a lot. And you know, more connections, it grows, doesn't it? You know, you get more connections, you get more followers, and things come quicker. It's a quicker and quicker thing.
I would say personally, make a list of at least 250 companies or individuals that you want to target, and then start engaging with them, because it is going to be a volume thing.
Yeah, that's a really good, and with individuals as well. So one of the things you should do is probably engage with people with masses of followers. So, you know, like if follow people you look at have 1.5 million followers, if you get a comment off one of those people, your engagement will be huge. You know, you'll be exposed to their network, which is massive. So what I do is I have a bookmark on my browser, which basically I star the posts of those people that I want to engage with, and I go to them every day and just check what their posts are, so that I know I've got, let's say I've got 10 people. I go and find that person every day and go and check their posts and go and like and comment. And if you do that every day for a month, all of a sudden they're looking at you going, you know, Pete's commented and liked my post every day for a month. Pete's a great guy. You know, Pete's in my club, as it were. And that's kind of what it is, a community, a club.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've got another question here from Naveen. Hi, Naveen.
Hi, Naveen. How
often should we post in a week?
Oh, that's a good one.
I knew you'd like that.
Yep. Do you want to go first, Haley?
You should post every day, really. I know that for me personally, if I don't post every day, then the engagement starts to drop off as well. So your exposure on LinkedIn starts to drop off. I think the algorithms work if you post and somebody comments and likes within a certain period, or multiple people comment and like, then your post goes up the rankings. So you really need to get that engagement there. And you can only do that by posting every day and commenting every day. It is a full-time job. Yeah.
I think it's a good point. So I post twice a day. I post once at 7:30 and once at 4:30. And I've changed when I post. I've changed how many times I've posted. And the most successful people on LinkedIn post an awful lot, right? So the people saying people don't want to do the work. People want to say, oh, you shouldn't post too much. I'm sorry. I really disagree. The more you post, I mean, if you could post 4 times a day and make it good content, I would say you should do that. But realistically, you know, what you want to be doing is spending, you know, like, I think to get a good amount of traction on LinkedIn, you've probably got to do half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening as a minimum to get a start of traction and community, I would say. So maybe start with post once a day. A lot of people I know posts Monday to Friday, once a day. And if you consistently do that for 2 months, then you will start to get traction. No question about it. But you've got to engage afterwards. You've got to follow up.
I should probably point out, Pete, how many followers did you have at the beginning and how many do you have now? Because that will give an idea.
In October, I had 2,000 followers. And today, I think I have 21,000 followers. So and I'm getting 200 a day, 200 new followers a day now.
Yeah, that's really, really good. So I did see another question on here.
How does social networking increase a person's power? Woo!
That's deep.
Deep. Sunil, that's a good question. Well, here's a prediction for you, right? And this is controversial. I reckon in 10 years' time, if you don't have a decent following on LinkedIn, people will choose against you without openly saying they're doing so. So for instance, if you're going for a job, I reckon in 10 years' time, there'll be a sort of point where they look at your profile and they'll say there might be 2 people and they might be very similar in terms of their abilities on their CV. And they'll look at your LinkedIn profile and you've got X followers and the other one's not doing anything on LinkedIn, and they will choose the person who is active on LinkedIn. So I believe that the power you're talking about, and power is a strong word, it's about influence, awareness, brand, and basically bringing something to the party that is slightly more interesting, that people go, you know what, that's really quite interesting. you know, they're doing something that's sparking my interest.
That's an interesting point here, because obviously I'm in recruitment, so I see what companies or who companies pick, and it's in the design field, which is very kind of subjective. And from my perspective, somebody who creates their personal brand and an asset, or becomes an asset to the company, should I say. So you really have to think about your brand and what you want for you and your career. So I would sit down and kind of think about how you want to be portrayed, what you want people to see, and then start growing your network from there. You will become an asset to a business, a corporation, because basically, I've lost my train of thought now. It's gone off.
No, I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I mean, I think power, it's one of those great things, isn't it? Power is something, you know, it's a very subjective word. And it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. So, you know, give back when you're doing it, you know, make sure that what you're trying to do in terms of your social networking is to give rather than to receive. And it sort of becomes a positive circle, shall we say, a spiral.
Yeah. Put out, you get back what you put out. But I think it's, I wouldn't necessarily use the word power, but people definitely gravitate towards individuals who become more of an asset online.
Yeah, for sure. So for instance, so a great example of that, I'm receiving probably, you know, 50 direct messages a day now asking me to be involved in something, or to, you know, and I find it really interesting. It's quite hard to keep up with it. But, you know, that's, I think, as you get traction and become, you know, interested and interesting, and you're putting a lot of effort into it, then yes, the power, question mark, the influence, the exposure that you get will grow, and it becomes really quite interesting and exciting.
Yeah, and it opens up so many doors.
Exactly. So yesterday I was on with a guy called Tom Balmont, who's a puppeteer.
Yeah, my second.
Yeah, and I love Tom's work. If you know, follow Tom, he's brilliant. And by the way, while we've not got that long left, if anybody wants to connect, please just put in the comments, open to connect, and everybody, you know, will connect. And this will be recorded, so it will continue to get connections afterwards, because as people rewatch it. So just write open to connect, and people will connect with you and connect with everybody else.
Yeah, perfect. So I think we've run out of questions. We'll start to wrap it up and do this again. But this was awesome, Pete.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I think that I hope it's coming across that me and you, Hayley, are pretty passionate about this, you know, this community, this LinkedIn thing. And you know, the one thing that I never expected was, you know, I went into this looking to try and get a job through, you know, enhancing my profile on LinkedIn. But what I didn't expect to find, and it's a happy coincidence, is that I've found, you know, a load of great people like Hayley. I found, you know, some people I genuinely could call my friends, and I've got some really meaningful advice, sort of people, you know, helping me, people wanting help, people, you know, it's a beautiful thing. So it's like anything, you know, lots of people say it, the more you put into something, you know, the more it gives back.
Yeah, I think it's also becoming, I know we've spoken about Clubhouse before. I mean, that's just hectic beyond belief for me, but it gives people an opportunity to tap into sources of information and actually have these conversations with people that you wouldn't normally have conversations with. So it really opens it all up for everyone, which I love.
Me too. Well said. It's a great place. So, you know, and the more you put in, the more you get out. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So we will be doing these on a weekly basis. And so I guess we'll kind of wrap it up and answer the questions next week. But thank you so much for everyone that's joined us today, and thank you for all your questions, etc. Again, like Pete says, please put in open to connect so that we can reach out to you and vice versa. And we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone. It's really nice to see you all. Cheers, Philip. Cheers, Sunil. Cheers, Naveen. All the very best.
Do the list.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care, Pete.
Bye. Bye.